Modern fandom is a bit of a clusterfuck. In a world of instant gratification, it sometimes feels like we have to wait bloody ages for movies to be released. The time in between trailers can do strange things to the human mind, with fans often endlessly theorising about how a particular movie should be. And when the finished product fails to meet their expectations, it's onto social media to send death threats to the filmmakers. And so goes the great circle of life. Some movies cut audiences straight down the middle though, with just as many lovers as haters. And this being the internet, there is no middle ground, leading to all-out war, at least on Twitter. So here's a rundown of 5 of the most divisive films from the past decade, according to us anyway. And if you disagree, well, expect some goddamn death threats. On with the list!
5. Ghostbusters 2016.
Women who bust ghosts. The thought still sickens some people, but come on, it's 2018, we can't carry on celebrating white heterosexual males forever. Okay, Winston ain't white, but he has seen shit that'll turn you white, so same thing, right? Remaking a beloved classic will always create fan friction, and they don't come more beloved and classic than Ghostbusters. Recasting with all females seemed like a cynical, if completely pointless move, and let's face it, the movie didn't do much to justify that decision, especially when all the surviving cast members returned for cameos. Even that guy who single-handedly prevented Ghostbusters 3. Things were looking bleak early on. The naysayers spoke out before the film's release, with an en masse thumbs down to the first trailer, which of course means everyone's a misogynistic asshole. Or so the media would have you believe. Sony of course played their part, deleting generally negative comments while leaving up the particularly nasty sexist ones. The outrage crew and the trolls moved in and the whole thing exploded, leading to lots of healthy debate online. Despite all this wonderful publicity, the film failed to catch fire at the box office, making a sequel very unlikely. Many claimed to enjoy the finished product, but most recognise its failure as a comedy. Verdict: it's a trap!
4. Iron Man 3.
We had to include a Marvel movie because, spoiler alert, we'll be hitting DC pretty hard in a moment. Iron Man 3 had the undesirable task of following the Avengers, which is like trying to follow BVS. Oh wait. Prior to release, everything suggested another Marvel home run. RDJ and his stellar support cast were back, except that guy. Shane Black was writing and directing, and Sir Ben Kingsley was about to deliver a tour de force as Uber Bastard the Mandarin. Or was he? Many fans felt a little cheated by the film and were understandably underwhelmed when A. Tony is out of his suit for half the time, B. he teams up with this annoying little brat, and C. the Mandarin turns out to be this bozo. Or does he? A lackluster plot and some iffy humour were other reasons people dislike the movie. But that said, the film has its fans, and its box office take made RDJ almost as rich as Tony Stark IRL. Perhaps, at the very least, Iron Man 3 provided Marvel with a lesson in raising fan expectation that little too high. They may have also realised that Shane Black pretty much remade Lethal Weapon 2. Verdict: whatever you think, it's still better than the second one.
3. Prometheus.
Remember the hype surrounding Prometheus? A prequel seemed like a great opportunity to open up the Alien franchise, and to Sir Ridley's credit, he went far beyond the Xenos to tackle the origin of mankind itself. At least we think that's what he was going for. This being a former Fox property, Damon Lindelof was brought in last minute to, well, fox things up. Cue lots of mystery box storytelling and several heavy-handed Xeno references shoehorned in. The film was visually spectacular with some fantastic acting talent, and while it was well received by critics and audiences, the finished product left much to be desired for the die-hard fans, especially when you went away and thought about it. As if to compensate for the lack of coherent narrative, fans came in with a pretty compelling space Jesus theory. Trouble is, Ridley screwed up any semblance of good work in his iffy sequel, wiping out the engineers and making everyone uncomfortable with that Fassbender on Fassbender scene. On the plus side, xenomorphs are technically Disney princesses now, so we may yet see that R-rated Alien vs Avengers movie we've all been waiting for. Free hugs, anyone? Verdict: even Space Jesus couldn't save this one.
2. Justice League.
BVS deserves a spot on this list just as much as Justice League, but we're feeling generous, and let's be honest, Warner Brothers should have learned their lessons by 2017, and boy did we think they had. A slickly edited Comic-Con trailer got people actually wondering if this thing might work, and then the red flags started appearing. Originally slated for a 2-part release, negative reaction to BVS played havoc with the production, leading to ongoing tweaks behind the scenes. Did I say tweaks? I meant fuck-ups. As if to compound that confusion, Joss Whedon was brought in to finalise the movie after Snyder's departure. Who directed which scenes and what was left out? Ultimately, it doesn't really matter. As the old saying goes, you can't polish a turd. And Henry Cavill's CGI mustache removal will forever remind us this is true. It got torn a new asshole by critics and general audiences were nonplussed. But there are still those die-hard fans that insist it's the greatest thing since canned bread. And then there's those lunatics campaigning for the untainted Snyder-only version. Okay, there's only like 10 of them. Verdict, sadly, a lower league of its own.
1. Star Wars The Last Jedi.
What kind of list would this be without a little Star Wars TLJ? It's a real love it or loathe it scenario. Whereas The Force Awakens was basically an homage come remake, Rian Johnson took a slightly different approach. And just a cursory glance at the Rotten Tomatoes page or the torrent of Twitter abuse shows how big the backlash was. But for all the naysayers, there were just as many yaysayers, proclaiming The Last Jedi to be the best Star Wars entry of all time. That might be a bit much. But objectively, it does make sense taking Star Wars in a new direction. The universe is fairly limited in scope outside of lightsaber duels and family feuds, but the new stuff split audiences like never before. Many were overjoyed with a more diverse cast, while others screamed SJW nonsense. Whichever side you fall on, The Last Jedi really typifies a divisive movie. It invites a new audience while at the same time kind of showing the old audience out the door. And as for those theory crafters, sorry guys, you kind of wasted your nerd powers with this one. There were definitely some odd choices in The Last Jedi, but to Rian Johnson's credit, the plot points are all neatly wrapped up and there is scope for Luke to return as a badass Force ghost. Hello! So that should keep fans interested. Assuming the Han Solo movie doesn't destroy Star Wars forever. Verdict, the Force is meh with this one.
So there's our list of divisive movies from the last decade. Was there something we missed? Another film for consideration? Put your thoughts in the comments and maybe we'll do a follow-up sometime. In the meantime, please help out our channel by hitting those like and subscribe buttons. Or if you really want to be divisive, the unlike and report buttons. But please don't. Here's some links to more of our content and thanks for watching.